My name is Matt Porteous and I'm a photographer. I don't specialise in one area of photography. I've spent the last 15 years working as a professional commercial photographer, photographing everything from weddings to environmental portraits, travel, ocean, and work around positive change, working with charities around the world. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here today, is to touch more on that. But before we get into that, I'm just going to give you a quick background on my journey into a photography career, and also the kind of where it stemmed from in childhood. And I think this is what we talk about a lot. It's kind of where you started out in life, your interest in life, and where you are today. So my journey started out in Jersey. I was born on a little island of Jersey in the UK. I was brought up from a young age in the ocean. I spent my whole time down the beach from when I was a kid, body surfing with my grandfather, down the beach, rock climbing with my dad, and just basically just living an island life. And from a young age I started taking interest in everything, the world around me, the people around me. And I picked up a camera when I was quite young. I was around 8 years old when I first picked up my camera. In fact, I've got it here, my first little yellow underwater camera. That was the first camera I picked up when I was around 8, and that just followed me around everywhere, and I was documenting my life essentially. And I think that is part of being a photographer. We document the things that we are involved with and the things that we're interested in, and that comes into our later life and what we like to photograph and our personal work. So for the next few years I was working on my skills as a photographer. I was understanding, I was going over to events like the photography show, and I was being inspired by the photographers. I've always been learning, I've always been taking an interest, and just being inspired by not only other photographers but other minds and other people and people's stories, and that's something I've always been incredibly interested in, is hearing people's stories. And that's another part of my journey, is connecting with people. I started traveling at a young age. I started traveling when I was around 16. I took a 2-year trip when I was in my early 20s. I traveled around Southeast Asia and Australia, and I was working with my camera then. And again, I was a surfer. I was kind of a surf bum, and I was documenting that journey throughout. But I was taking more interest in the people that I met. We were going to places in Indonesia where there were amazing waves and there were a lot of surfers there, but I was still taking a lot of interest in the actual culture and the people. So my photography career really didn't start until my late 20s. I had spent previous years traveling the world and working in the building industry. It was a career that I wasn't happy in. And my dream to become a photographer was always there. There was always doubt in my mind whether it could be a full-time career. In 2008, I started up my photography business. I was photographing everything from architecture to corporate portraits to weddings to family, everything I could for the next few years. I was fine-tuning my craft. I was learning it as I went along the way. I had no experience working with a photographer or assisting with photographers. So for the next few years, I was saying yes to every job. I was working on every job. I was connecting with as many people as I could on a day-to-day basis. If I wasn't photographing, I was connecting with people. If I wasn't working on commercial jobs, I was working on personal projects, on projects that I really cared about, and projects that made me happy. So that continued for a good 6 years, 7 years, until I took a trip to Hawaii in 2015. And in 2015, I think that's when my world changed in terms of what I was trying to achieve with my photography. It all of a sudden it wasn't just working with clients and capturing portraits and doing my work to make everyone else happy, but it was a new avenue that I saw that was possible in photography. And that was where I set up Ocean Culture Life. It was born on the beach of Hawaii the first day that I got there, chatting with the North Shore lifeguards, and understanding that through their experience as lifeguards and rescuing people on the North Shore, which is one of the, the most dangerous waters in the world, one of the most dangerous oceans in the world. Surfers from all around the world come to Hawaii, come to the North Shore to surf, to be seen, to be captured, to make it on the front cover of magazines. But in the background, the people that are looking out for them and people that are making sure that they're safe and they're okay and they can take off in these huge waves are the North Shore lifeguards. And I took a real interest in them because I found their story incredibly interesting. They're the kind of like unsung heroes. They're the guys that are keeping an eye on everyone. Also, some of the lifeguards, they were shark conservationists and they would take people out on shark tours, and so they were the educators of the ocean. And there was a project that they were working on which was actually being able to inspire other lifesavers around the world to follow the same techniques that they had. And I thought, this is amazing, this is great what you're doing. The work that you're doing in Hawaii needs to be shared in my beaches in Jersey and the other big wave spots in Portugal and South America and all these places. So the way that a message is shared is through storytelling. Scientists have been working for years working on projects. Conservationists have been working for years on projects. But now with the power of storytelling, the power of photography and filmmaking, these messages can be heard. These messages can circulate the planet, being shared by thousands of people to be able to share a strong message and a positive message. I think this always comes back to positive storytelling. For me, it does anyway. It's that positive story that is told that can affect people's lives and they want to follow you and your work, or they want to follow the people that are making a big difference. We call it change makers. I've set up Ocean Culture Life, which was storytellers, photographers and filmmakers, and the change makers, the conservationists, the individuals, the corporations, the small charities that are making a big difference and a big change in this world. So for the last 6 years, we've been working with Ocean Culture Life. We've built a global community of storytellers and change makers. We're continuing to grow now, we're continuing to grow to this day. We truly understand the power of storytelling and that power of connectivity and that power of sharing. Understanding the importance of storytelling and change makers with Ocean Culture, we knew that we had to take this further. And in 2018, we adapted Studio M, which is a commercial studio here in Jersey, to be focused more on purpose-driven stories. New business, individual stories, and some of the most important work that we've done over the last few years is heading out to India. We went out there with our team, we went out there with Ollie Jones, Tom Webster and Will Robinson, and we have been documenting projects around human trafficking, child labour and slavery. We have focused primarily on the positive effects that charities are doing in India. So the work that they're doing around getting children out of slavery, out of child labour, into schooling and giving them an education that they would never have had. So first we were working with a charity called Good Weave International, and they are rescuing children from the rug industry in India and Nepal. This really opened up our eyes to the work that's being done down there and the stories that can be told. This is a charity that's been running for the last 20 years, I think. It was founded by an incredible guy called Kailash, and since then they have been working relentlessly over the last 15-20 years to save millions of children in the rug industry, in the slavery in India and Nepal. But it's only really been over the last few years with the power of storytelling that their message is being heard on a larger scale. Their donors were hearing about these stories, some big companies were maybe hearing about them, but outside of that, these stories aren't heard. There are a number of stories that we're hearing now, around climate, around ocean plastics. Some of these big stories are being heard over and over again, but there's a lot of other stories that just aren't being heard and they're not being talked about so much. Since building up a portfolio of work with Goodweave International, we've now also been able to work with a number of other charities throughout India and Nepal. One of them being Freedom Rising, which is giving a voice to women and empowering women in South India, which was an incredible project that we worked on at the beginning of 2020. Now, with this and with our storytelling and with our whole studio coming together, we truly understand the power of storytelling. Not only the power that storytelling can empower and give a voice to the people that we're working with globally on a global scale, but even more so, the thing that we've learned this year and being stuck back home in Jersey this year is actually the power that photography gives you as an individual. Since working on these projects on a global scale, everything from the ocean to child labour and these bigger projects we've been working on, it wasn't until we came back this year, early in 2020, and spending the last year at home in Jersey that we truly understand the importance of storytelling. Not only does it give you, the photographer, the power to go out and capture stories that make you feel happy, that give you purpose, that open doors that you would never have opened if you weren't a photographer, that allow people to open up and talk to you. You know, I find that if there's one thing that I've missed in this time, it's being able to connect with new people and hearing new stories. But over the last few weeks, over the last few months, we've been going out and been chatting with individuals, we've been chatting with locals, we've been chatting with unsung heroes here in Jersey. And I think this is the most powerful thing, and understanding the purpose that we have as the purpose that you can have by being a photographer, being a filmmaker, and getting out in nature, meeting people, finding out about their lives is a really amazing thing that we have and we're able to do. So what's happened over the last few years is we've been traveling around the world telling these really big stories and these really important stories, but what we've learned over the last year is bringing that storytelling element, bringing it home, bringing it back to our local island, to our local town, and being able to use that power of storytelling to be able to connect with our local community. Being able to give a voice to your community and allowing them to be heard. The unsung heroes in our community. We've been working on projects around sustainable fishing in Jersey. We've been working with individuals that have set up companies around mental health and getting people in the ocean, getting people out in nature. There are so many stories that are right here, right in your local town, in your local village, in your city, on your coastline that need to be told. And these individuals, these small businesses, they want to tell them. They want to tell these new stories. So for the last 10 months now, we have been working on local projects. We've been helping tell new stories. We have been giving that voice to our community. And when I talk about purpose and why I've set up a whole online course around finding your purpose as a visual storyteller, I think this has given me the time to understand my purpose and what really has made me into the person that I am, and why I've chosen to connect myself with an amazing community of storytellers, and why we continue to go out and want to capture these stories is because my purpose as a storyteller is just to reach out, hear stories, capture people's lives, and spend as much time in the ocean and going to incredible places. So I guess that's my why and that's my purpose, and I would inspire all of you to go out and think about what makes you happy. Where's the one place that makes you happy? What are the stories that you love to capture? Where are the places that you love to go? And really use that as a photographer to open up a whole new world and connect with totally new stories. And I think that's it. I think that's my journey into finding your purpose as a photographer, as a storyteller. So I'll be opening this up to questions. I've done a recording like this because we had a number of plans to be working on projects in the Maldives and Indonesia, but every day and every week projects are being cancelled. So I'm going to be answering your questions wherever I might be. I might be sitting in the same seat in the same place because we still haven't managed to get away. So I'm opening this up to questions, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you so much, and enjoy life. Hey guys, how are you all? My name is Matt Porteous, and first of all, I'm going to apologise for the background music. Something went a little bit wrong there, but yeah, following on from the film, ignoring the background music, I'm here to talk about positive storytelling, and at the moment, there's probably going to be quite a slow reception at the moment because I'm on an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and we're working on a project down here, which is something very close to my heart. It's around ocean conservation. I'm here with Ocean Culture Life. That's why I to record this film just before I left, because we weren't sure if we were going to have all on the island. It's a very undiscovered, but it so happens some of the best diving in the world here, some of the best shark diving, but also there are a lot of issues in the island that we are trying to document, and we're capturing these stories so we can create a new story. We can create a new film. We can create a new body of work that we're going to bring back and to really talk about sustainable travel, the ocean culture. So this is why we're down here at the moment. But on all the projects that we've been doing over the last few years, everything from the ocean to the work that we're doing around child labor, and the work that we're doing in India and Nepal, and also the work that we're doing locally in Jersey. It's very much about using storytelling to connect with our community, connect with our local environment, our local issues that are happening in and around our local towns and with our local culture. So I'm opening this up for questions. I have some questions on there about the music. It's very distracting. I'm really sorry about that. But if anyone has any questions around the work that we're doing, or just how to use storytelling to tell positive stories that can really make a difference, this is what we're really. It's something that I've been very passionate about over the last few years. We really understand the power of storytelling, the power of photography, and reaching out, and the doors that are opened when you go and take interest in people and you go their story. So I would love from many of you, and we've got a few questions here after the bad music, which I'm very sorry about. Maya Joyce, you said the music was fine. That's good. Where do we make our Len Wells, where do I make my money to fund the projects? Now, that's a good question. I'll tell you where I make the money to fund my purpose-driven projects over the last 5 years. I've made my money from my commercial work. My commercial work at my studio, which is everything from corporate portraits to weddings. I photograph a lot of high-end weddings around the world. I have a team of photographers as well that we do. So we all work together, and we're working on a lot of commercial projects. We're working on everything from sporting events to business events, to working with campaigns, working with small brands, there's lots of different things that we're doing. So these personal projects are very much funded by myself. A lot of them now we are able to, because of our portfolio and our body of work, we're able to get some outside funding, some sponsorships, maybe some business sponsorships, people that want to invest in a Changemaker project. But this has only happened over the last few years. And I think even more so over the last couple of years, we've really seen what's happening in the world. And there's a real shift in mindset about what businesses need to do to protect our planet and protect our people, looking after the environment, looking after the creatures, looking after nature. And so because we've been building this body of work over the last 5 years, it's given us the ability to go out and reach more people and connect with more people. And now this is why we're trying to connect with more storytellers to help tell a wider story
a faster period of time. So yeah, it's very much about self-funding projects to build a portfolio, the same you would do with your commercial work. You do personal projects to attract commercial clients to your work and to your style of work. We've done exactly the same thing with the NGOs and the charities that we work for, self-funded, and then eventually we're getting money either from charities or from businesses or from some brands as well. So I hope that answers your question, Len. Renita Miranda, how do we get people opening up about their stories? This is a really good question, and this is something that I talk about a lot in my photography. As a photographer, we have the ability to enter people's lives that you would never normally have the opportunity to be a part of. When you take interest in people, when you really take interest in other people, they will open up and they'll want to share their lives with you. It's happened for days in this island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We've arrived. We have self-funded our trip down here. We had a good friend of ours, John O'Allen. He's an ocean photographer. He said, "You got to come down here. There's this really interesting story, and it needs to be told now." And we have come down here. We've said we're photographers and filmmakers, and we have had so many doors open. People want to talk to us. They know the power of social media. They know the power of storytelling and how that can reach the wider world. And even when it's not on these big projects, people just love to share their story. Anybody you meet in the street, if you take interest in them, if you really take interest in somebody, you really take interest in their lives, they will really open up to you and they'll share their story with you. And I think it's one of the most magical things about being a photographer is having that ability just to walk into people's lives and hear their story. And then when you feel that you've built a connection with them, then you're able to capture that story and tell that story. So yeah, I hope that has given you some insight into that. I've had a lot more questions just come through. This is good, and it's not all about the music. This is brilliant. I love this. This is great. Lots of questions. Okay. Let me just go through some of these. Hard to find. Let me just. Okay, so Mike Davies, what kind of stories have you shared through the pandemic? So Mike Davies, that's a great question. What stories have I shared through the pandemic? Prior to the pandemic, I was traveling a lot with my commercial work. I was away from home. My home is Jersey in the Channel Islands. It's a beautiful island. It's somewhere that I grew up and I have so much connection to it. But in the commercial world, I lost my connection to Jersey. So since we've been back, we have told a lot of new stories. We've been telling stories around the ocean and sustainable fishing in Jersey. We've been talking about mental health and getting ocean sea swimmers into the ocean around mental health. We've been talking about local cafes and the work that they're doing to look after their community. We've been talking to dairy farmers. We've been connecting just with local people and seeing how they're getting. So it's really kind of coming back and bringing it back to the community, which has really meant a lot to us. And over the last year, we've also been working on a project. Recently, just put out a new tutorial, which is all around storytelling. So we've been filming a lot in Jersey around that, which has been lovely. It's been lovely just to be at home, out in the back garden, out and out in the area that I was brought up in. And it's the same with everybody. I think a lot of the time we're always looking to go further afield, but we really don't have to. We can just really just put something on social media and say, hey, I want to tell a new story today. I want to hear your story. I want to hear a story from the unseen kind of change makers and maybe the unheard, and people will reach out and they'll want to have their story told. So Mike, thank you for the question. Amir Nimi, thank you for the inspiration. Thank you. I would love to work more on the issues I care about into my work. This has given me inspirational to try and do that. Thank you. Guy Walsh, How do you make money back on these projects? Who funds the accommodation? Okay, Guy, that's great. I tell you, the first thing that we did, and like I just said before, was self-funding. But also, when you are going to some of these locations, once you build up a portfolio of work, then you can start being paid by actually like hotels, travel industries, travel companies. They can sometimes fund or help with accommodation, which is sometimes really needed. This is something that I talk about a lot more. That I can talk about a lot more, but on this thing really it's about building a portfolio, getting a portfolio, and then reaching out to different locations and travel companies, and they can help. You can create content for them, you can create content for people, and you can get free stays, you can get maybe free accommodation, maybe you can get free food. So it's about building those connections and really connecting with people. David Thomas, what extent is it important for a visual story to understand the culture and context of the people in the story? Language. That's a great question, David. And it's so important. When I went to a new place, or when I go to a new location, or when I go to a new village in, say, Africa, or if I go to a new, or even if I just walk into a shoot when I've never met before, I think that you really need to just judge your, understand your surroundings, understand the people that you're meeting. But like I was saying just before, just go in and take interest in people. If you don't speak their language, find a translator, find a translator with you, and ask them questions. Find out about them. What do they love about their country? What do they hope to see more of? Is tourism a good thing? Is tourism a bad thing? Really kind of get to know them, and if you can, don't pick up a camera straight away. Just spend half a day with them. Spend a whole day with them before you pick up a camera. We spent the first few days on this, and we've taken very few pictures. We spent at least 3 days just chatting, getting to know the community, because we've got a bit of time, weeks here. We've got a bit of time. So 3 days getting to know people, getting to know the community, asking questions, taking interest, asking, and then it builds up a real great connection, and it builds up trust. And I think trust is a very important thing as a photographer. To get the best out of people, you need to gain their trust. And about speaking their language, if you can't speak their language, get a data. And also enter a shoot with a smile. A smile will get you a long way. If you don't have a lot of time, walk in with a smile, ask if they mind having their picture taken. If they say yes, that's fine. Take a picture, show them the screen. They're going to love it. And maybe try and get their address, take their address down, and then you can send the pictures at a later date. And that's such an amazing thing, to be able to send pictures to people, to be able to share. You're not just taking, but you're giving back. It's a really important thing as a photographer. We've done it in we've done it in lots of places we've been, taken pictures and sent them back. Len Wells, I would love to tell a story in the Philippines. How do I go about getting funding? Len, I'm not sure where you're based. If you're based, I'm not sure if you're based in the Philippines, or if you're thinking about traveling to the Philippines. But first is we have to go out and build this portfolio first. You have to go out and build a personal portfolio first. You need to build your own brand. You need to build your own stack. And once you've built that solid structure, that solid portfolio of images, then you can start getting funding, and then you'll start getting funding to work on these projects. But until then, all photographers work for free. You work for free until you build that portfolio, and you can go out funding. Redro Rio, sorry, I'll probably said that wrong. Storytelling is a good point. How can we find the right themes closer to home? Great question, Pedro. The right themes closer to home and storytelling. I always say that storytelling really comes from, what are you passionate about? What do you really love? This is your why. Your why is the things that make you, the experience that you've had through your life, where you've come from, what you're interested in, the hobbies that you have. These are things that the storyteller. So make sure that you're telling the stories that mean a lot to you, because they're the things you're passionate about. Ocean and surfing. So the whole business now is around that. Ocean culture is around that. Chris Lake, really interesting stuff that resonate a lot with me. Does your work attract clients coming to you, or do you ever have to pitch ideas to clients and media? Chris, again, this is a great question. I have to say that we don't pitch a lot of work. It tends to come to us. We create a look and a feel to what we're doing through our self-funded projects, and then clients will start coming to us. The actual pitching process and going up against other bigger companies and maybe working with bigger brands isn't something that we do a lot of, because we're constantly working on these projects for free. We are building our personal portfolio, and this is something that I guess people just see the kind of work that you do. I do a lot of weddings. I'm a wedding photographer. I've traveled for the last 10 years. I've been photographing between 15 to 40 weddings in a year. But on my social media, I don't show that I have weddings. I've got a separate wedding website. But I just show the work that I do. But then that actually attracts my wedding clients. My wedding clients are attracted to the work that I do around conservation, around my ocean work. So people are attracted to me because of my personality and my style of work, rather than just a certain look and feel of my work. So I hope that helps, Chris. How do I balance your carbon with your work you do? That's a really good question, Tom. When you're balancing carbon footprints, it's I know it's something that's on a lot of people's minds at the moment, and it's hard to say the balancing that we're doing. But what I do know is that the work that we are doing, the reason I set up Ocean Culture Life is to actually have a global community of ocean retailers. So we have photographers in Hawaii, in America, in Australia, in Asia, in South Africa. So we're able to connect with these people. So we don't have to travel to all these places to be able to tell these stories. We have a community of storytellers in all these different countries that are telling these positive stories that are going to help make a difference. So the way that we are carbon offsetting is, I guess, we are connecting with a global audience of storytellers, and it's the work that we're doing is if that can help an island nation, if it's a few people, if it can help a small village or a small group of people, then I feel that the work is been in a positive light. Carl Bullock, thank you so much for your kind comment. Simon Roth, does the type of camera you use affect the way that you're able to interact with people in your projects? Simon, great question. I've moved to Fuji over the years. The reason I moved to that is the old style look of my camera, and it's a funny thing. It's like going to that old look. I use an X-T4, Fuji X-T4, and not only do I love the look of it, but also when I pick it up and I'm holding it in front of somebody, it doesn't matter where I am in the world, they're taking interest in my camera. They really like the look of my camera. Some people think it's an old camera and they want to have a look at it, and maybe it's a film camera. So I think that the type of camera, yeah, it has. It's really affected my work. It's taken people take a little bit of different interest. People take interest in the camera gear that you're using. I think a lot of cameras look the same, or maybe they have the same kind of look. And I think when you take out something that looks a little bit different with all the like turny dials and everything that a Fuji has, then people really like that. So great question. It's something that really has actually made a difference. There's so many questions. Thank you so much for all your questions. I'm not sure if I'm going to get through them. I've only got another 4 minutes here. Hayley Breyer, your presentation, truly inspiring me the first time. It made sense, and I love being amateur. Hayley Breyer, where do you start? You're an amateur. Where do you start? Do you know where do you go from now? Is that you get your camera and you go out every single, you connect with people every day, you take pictures every single day, and you just start taking interest in people and finding your journey. Don't hold back. Make sure that you're out there every day. That's what I did right from the beginning. As soon as I picked up a camera, well, I picked up a camera when I was young, but then when I was around 18, I probably started taking it really seriously. And it really was a case of photographing every day and just learning and practicing and taking in your surroundings and understanding light. And it's a great thing, but the only way is with practice. And there's no kind of real fast way. But it's a great thing once you understand from light to people to using your work to travel and making a difference. So thank you for your question. And these are great. I'm just going to refresh some of these questions. Thank you everybody so much for all your questions and for taking your time to listen to this. Dave Faulkner, you keep using the expression purpose-driven. Is that a Rick Warren influence? I'm not sure if it's a Rick Warren influence. I need to have a look into that, but I think it's just something that we've been talking about over the last few years. As soon as we set up OCL, it just I went and set up OCL after a day on the beach in Hawaii, and I sat in front of my computer and these kind of words straight out. So I'm going to look into Rick Warren. I should probably know who that is. Keaton Barton, how do you tackle documenting? How do you tackle documenting other people, cultures, and stories in the outside and as an outside of them? Yeah, Keaton, that's just connecting with that local community, taking interest and building that connection. I think I just touched on this before, but it's really just take interest, talk to people, share where you're from, and they will really people really trust you. How do you follow me on my story? You can follow me on social media, Matt Porteous. You can also follow the work that we're doing on Ocean Culture Life. And please do follow, send me a direct message, say that you've listened to this this talk today. Please do direct message me, just say that you've listened to this if I haven't got through all the questions, and I would love to I'll message you back and I can answer any questions that you've missed, and we can follow on the conversation from there. I've only got 30 seconds left, so I'm going to finish this conversation by first just thanking the photography show for allowing me to talk today. It's been an honor to be on here, and also thanking Fuji for getting me on here as well. It's been a great journey over the last few years, and I love that our work as storytellers and purpose-driven storytelling is really kind of getting on people's attention now, because I think there's been no time that's more important to be talking about issues that are happening around the world, and the power that we storytellers to be able to connect and inspire change. Storytelling, positive sense of the word storytelling, using that light, and businesses and brands and companies will listen to you, and they will want to use you for that storytelling. And this is a very time for us to be storytellers. Everybody has a new story right now, from the individual to the company. So I will finish. Please do direct message me, and I will get back. We're pretty busy on this project over the next 10 days, back to you eventually, and answer any questions you have. So on that note, all so much for listening in today, and I hope chat with you all soon, and I look forward to continuing together. And and also we've got a whole new tutorial as well on, so please do jump on, and you can see that on the website as well as mattporteous.co.uk, and you can see more. There's some free given there, and everything else like that as well. So from there, thank you so much again to Photography Show and I will chat to you very soon.